Oh my God.
And as I say, they didn't leave a copy of the warrant on the day. I've had to chase them down. Warrant, I did report them to the police because at the end of the day, for me, that is breaking and entering and also trespassing. The police told me that they couldn't take any action because they'd acted on the warrant, but yet the police haven't seen a copy of the warrant.
That's just terrible, isn't it? It's just terrible. And Charlene, I would not be surprised, I'm afraid. I don't have any evidence for this, but I would not be surprised if some of these companies, these third parties, were just doing it without a warrant, just making it up. Because there's no one's going to check, and if the police are going, well, yeah, they've got one, but the police haven't seen it for themselves to make sure that it's valid, then why wouldn't they? Plus, as this investigation in the paper showed today, that these people are getting a bonus for switching people on to prepayment meters, so it's in their interests to fake it and then make the money.
Oh my God.
Charlene, thanks for the call. 0345 6060 973 84850 to text. You can tweet at LBC. As Paul says here, how do we balance being compassionate and generous against protecting against those who would exploit that compassion and generosity? It's not an unfair question, but I do wonder whether we're getting to the stage for those who are placed forcibly onto prepayment meters and cut off as a result of not having enough money to pay into the meter, whether energy should become more of a right than a retail product. Your calls after this. Tom Swarbrick here, 417.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. It's slow on the M25 clockwise. The exit slip road at junction 11 for Chertsey is partly blocked because there's a swan on the road. There are queues in South Woodford on the North Circular westbound. It's partly blocked before the M11 because of an investigation. In Peckham, Asylum Road is blocked in both directions between Staveley Close and Queen's Road because of an accident, so it's slow on the approach. In New Malden, there are queues on the A3 southbound because of the roadworks after the Coombe Lane flyover. It's very slow in Hendon on the A41, the Watford Way going into town at Station Road. That's because of roadworks. On the Tube, there are minor delays on the Jubilee line. That's after there was a signalling problem earlier. And there's disruption to buses in South and West London. That's because of a strike today by Abellio staff.
LBC. On hold to your bank. That lovely music. Waiting for a friend who's late.
Where is he?
Waiting. Who needs it? With SEAT, you don't have to. Selected SEAT SUVs are in stock and available now. And you get up to £750 off straight away. How's that? Live bolder. Live better. SEAT SUVs.
Purchase before 31st of March. £500 discount on Seat Arona and £750 discount on Seat Ateca. New vehicle stock only. Subject to availability. T's and C's apply.
Call Tom Swarbrick. 0345 6060 973. This is LBC.
Whether it's a home to grow up in or a place to grow old, our home is the stage where our lives unfold. From your forever home or your very first place, to up or downsizing to get the perfect space. Life doesn't wait, and neither should we. If it's the right home, then it's just meant to be. If you're thinking about your next move, get in touch with your local Savills agent to book a valuation.
Sail the world a different way with Fred Olsen Cruise Lines. Our award-winning itineraries are unusual and imaginative, bursting with local culture, history and wildlife. And aboard our smaller ships, the atmosphere is always warm and friendly. It'd be easy to follow the crowds, but we never will, because this is our way. The Olsen Way. Book now for free drinks or spend on selected sailings. Be quick, offer ends on 28th of February. Visit fredolsencruises.com for more information. T's and C's apply.
When you're driving along a motorway and you see a red X sign, it means stay out of that lane because there's a hazard up ahead. Red X signs are there to keep us safe and keep us moving, because we all want to be somewhere like being at home for the season finale of that series you're into. Follow the signs. Keep us all moving. Search National Highways Red X to find out more.
When a baby cries, you want to do everything you can to help. Emmanuel and his twin brother need your help to receive antibiotics. Pneumonia has filled their lungs with fluid and they are fighting for every breath. With your help, for just £6, Save the Children could provide the medicine they need. And that's all we're asking you for, to save a child like Emmanuel's life. Please, go to savethechildren.org.uk now and give £6 a month. Thank you.
Have you ever been caught out by payments you've forgotten about? Join over 2.5 million customers who are already using the Lloyds Bank upcoming payments tool on our app. It gives you early sight of regular payments that are due to leave your account in the next 31 days to avoid any surprises. It's just one of our many useful tools that can help you stay on top of your money. To find out more, go to lloydsbank.com/cost of living. Lloyds Bank, by your side.
I talk a lot about love, and I love this range of biscuits from Lu. It's not just because they're French, or just because I have so many memories of them as a boy, or because they come in a fantastic range of chocolatey, crunchy, buttery. No, it's because of all the passion and care that goes into making them. Oh la la. That's why Lu tastes the love.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
Bring you an update in a few moments' time on the continuing search for Nicola Bully, who went out on a dog walk. She's a mum of two. She'd been walking her Springer Spaniel dog, and since Friday afternoon, she's gone missing. Her parents have been speaking in the last hour or so. We'll bring you a little bit of what they have had to say and how that search is going. Let's get to your calls, though, on the prepayment meter scandal, which has taken yet another twist today with the investigation by the Times newspaper that shows that British Gas were handing over to a third-party company, going into people's homes and installing prepayment meters by force. I mean, there's no other way of putting it, really. Chris is in Blackpool. Chris.
Hi, Tom. You okay?
I'm well, sir. Your thoughts on this?
So, basically, a few years ago, I was in quite a lot of debt, fighting my way out of it. And with British Gas, I was always a bit behind. I got several letters from them, and in fairness, I got a letter from them saying, we'll take this matter to court, we can get a warrant, we can take our meter back and change it. I ignored that letter. Like I say, I wasn't not paying, but I wasn't paying everything. And then I get a knock at the front door. There's two British Gas vans, there's a bailiff. I said, whoa, what's going on? Completely shocked me. I actually was late for work, so I just let myself out, locked the door, said to the British Gas guy, look, this is confusion, I'm just a little bit behind. He said, don't worry about it. He drove off. The bailiff was sort of, no, you pay me today, you pay me. So I just jumped in my car and drove off. When I came back, let myself in my house, I was like, well, something's not right. So they let themselves in. The locksmith had entered the property. They took my meters out and put prepayment meters in, and I'm totally hearing the other callers because I felt absolutely dreadful and had quite a lot of mental health issues, obviously battling through the debt. In fairness, I rang them, explained to them, look, I've never not paid, I appreciate I'm behind, but this is so affected me and so awful, and I can't believe they've done this, when I was literally saying, look, I'm happy to pay. They called me back within an hour, and within 3 days, in fairness to British Gas, they sent an engineer back and changed my meters back to the ones where I just pay them as I go.
So they've done it by mistake, or they've done it mistakenly?
No, they have. Well, basically, there's a law that they have from quite many decades ago that allows them to take back their meter. That's the law, but they have to go to the court. But I'm not sure if you can attend the court. They get sent to the court, and that gives them the legal right. It's the law from, like I say, I would then say 1970 something, but the law that they have that allows them to enter the property to take back their meter. So
I can see that. I can see that they've acted within the law. I suspect that some might not, but I've got no evidence for that. I can see that they've acted within the law, and I can see that companies, if they're owed money, need to find a way of getting the money that's owed to them. I just think the assessment of vulnerability is the missing bit here, because there are clearly, and this investigation in the papers shows it, the assessment of vulnerability is just made by the person on the day ad hoc and how they're feeling, how they got out of bed that morning. And the requirement on the companies to find other ways of helping that person pay back what they owe without then putting them on a prepayment meter hasn't been happening. Chris, thanks for the call. I get this on 84850. Tom, you're so eager to be woke. I used to work in an arrears department for British Gas. It's an ongoing, very difficult task to get HP and gas payments from a large number of customers. It is necessary to obtain court orders in order that prepayment meters can be installed in some customers' homes. Companies have to be viable, and some customers will not see sense in paying for what they're receiving. I understand that. Said at the start, I think if you owe money, you should pay that money. And the company that you owe that money to has a right to go about finding a way to recoup that money, because companies do have to be viable. But if it was woke, if we were all eager to be woke, does that not apply to British Gas, who have stopped this practice as a result of what's been uncovered today? So if they're being woke and I'm being woke, maybe it's that something's gone really wrong here. Peter's a first-time caller in Exeter. Peter.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I am one of the engineers that go into these properties with the warrant officer to actually swap these meters out, and it's not a new thing as far as I'm concerned that suddenly started. I've been doing it 6 years, and I think it was happening long before me.
Yeah. The new thing, just to be really clear about that, because you're absolutely right, the new thing is that it's been found to be really, really sharp practices, that the requirements on the companies to check for vulnerability, to try other things before putting people onto prepayment meters, hasn't been happening in these cases.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and we do get the jobs often, and there is a vulnerability on site. So I went to one not that long ago where the meter was in the basement, and the customer may have to access the meter occasionally to top up on the meter if the app wasn't working, and he was actually in a wheelchair and couldn't even access the basement. That was the second time visit as well. So the warrant officer had been there twice, spoke to the gentleman twice, but it somehow went through the supplier, and we ended up there again. I've also been instructed before to cap off the gas meter externally, so swap the meter out for a prepayment one, cap it off, so they will then need to contact a gas engineer to uncap it, to recommission their appliances.
Hey?
And it's a double whammy. They've been changed to a prepayment meter when we can't access the house because maybe there's a dog in there and we don't have a dog handler. And then they have to then pay for a gas engineer to come out to get their appliances back on.
Sorry, Peter. This is why I outsource this stuff to people like you who know what you're doing. I haven't got a clue. The boiler lost pressure the other day. I know how to top the pressure up, but other than that, I haven't got a Scooby about these things. You were told to cap the gas outside to mean that once the meter had gone in and the money was on it, that same person would have to call whoever it was you're acting for and say, I can't get any more through, it's being capped, can you come and sort it, and that will cost you X amount.
Yeah, exactly. And
but why were you told to do that?
Why?
Yeah.
We couldn't access the house because there was a dog in there and we didn't have a dog handler. And if we cap the meter, basically anything past that cap, with the physical cap, isn't our responsibility as such. The meter, as far as the supplier is concerned, that's their responsibility. So as soon as we swap that meter out, this was a traditional meter I installed on this occasion. So they had a normal meter, but I installed one where you have to physically put a card in. We capped it, the meter's in, our job's done, sort of thing. When they get back, they have a safety notice that I would have to fill out, and they have to basically explain they have to get a gas safe engineer out to uncap it. So that will cost them money. Presumably someone that doesn't have, well, they're short on money, I assume.
And sorry, the only reason I'm being really, really thick here, Peter, the only reason why you would have to cap the gas is because you couldn't get into the house because there was a dog there, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So we normally do a thing called a purge and relight, where you purge any air out, relight the appliances, everything's working. It's a simple job. It takes a couple of minutes, but you need to be qualified for it. And you need to be qualified to take that ceiling disc out, that cap out.
Would it be dangerous for the occupant if the gas weren't capped and you'd not been in to do the meter?
If I didn't get in, I wouldn't describe it as dangerous, but it is something that a gas safe engineer should do. Certainly, they're not going to start removing the ceiling disc, but this is just what I'm instructed to do. I did make a call on that occasion, and that's what I got told to do.
How did you feel about being told to do that?
I did it, and it didn't seem fair. I mean, a lot of these people are struggling, and more recently, some of the debts that are mounted up, obviously it's nothing to do with me, but you talk to the warrant officer and some of them tell you are like massive, like well into, I think £10,000 was one of them.
We're never going to get it back.
Well, no, and we can fit the prepayment meter, so that there was no way of them paying it back. It was going to have to you know, they were going to have to talk it through with their supplier. That was a vulnerability issue that we couldn't install that one. We also, this is a whole new thing that has suddenly come around. We attend emergency jobs out of hours where the customer's off gas for whatever reason. It's a faulty gas meter. That's common. I've been to more and more recently this winter where I turn up, the meter looks like it's working absolutely fine, and I ask the customer what to do and what's wrong with it, and I'm there for the simple reason that they cannot afford to top up. They've got no money, they've used up their emergency credit on the meter switched itself off, the valve's closed on the meter. I'm just there to add more emergency credit, which is adding to their debt on the meter until payday for them. And that has never, in 6 years of doing it, this is the first winter that I've had to go to it, and these people have to look at me and basically explain to me that they've got no money in their bank account.
Oh, that is absolutely heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking. How desperate. And I said before about it, a description of almost exactly that sounding Dickensian, but it does, doesn't it? Peter, great call. Thank you. 0345 6060 973. Coming up after the news.
There are now some mammals that have been infected which have eaten dead birds, but also importantly, in Spain there's been an outbreak in a mink farm where the virus has spread and infected minks.
The largest ever outbreak of bird flu is spilling over into mammals. We'll get the details. 4:32 news headlines. Tim Humphrey.
Interest rates have gone up again from 3.5% to 4%, adding nearly £50 a month to the average monthly tracker mortgage. But Bank of England says forecasts now suggest inflation has peaked. The head of British gas owner Centrica has apologised for practices used to install prepayment meters. An investigation has found the company sent debt collectors who broke into customers' homes. Charges, including attempted rape and assault against Manchester United forward Mason Greenwood, have been dropped. Prosecutors say key witnesses have withdrawn and new materials emerged that makes the chances of a conviction unrealistic. LBC weather, most places dry with variable cloud tonight, showers moving into western parts later, and a low of 5 degrees.
Tonight, with Andrew Marr from 6 p.m, only on LBC.
Boris Johnson is cavorting all over social media, defending his record as Prime Minister, but talking to Tory MPs, I don't detect any great surge of support for the former Prime Minister. And to help me assess it, I was joined a little earlier by a man who was for a long time Boris Johnson's eyes and ears on Northern Ireland, Connor Burns.
Anyone who thinks they can suppress Boris Johnson is delusional.
Would you like to see Rishi bring Boris back as chairman?
I want to see a chairman who is out there organising conservatism in the country. Boris has got a massive part still to play in the Conservative family.
Tonight, with Andrew Marr from 6 p.m. Listen on your radio and on Global Player. LBC.
Poor air quality is affecting the health of Londoners.
I'm Sarah Walno. I'm the Chief Executive of Asthma and Lung UK. We're here to support the 1 in 5 people across the UK who has a lung condition. Over half of people with asthma and other lung conditions like COPD say that air pollution is a trigger. A major source of air pollution in London is from road traffic, so a big priority for us is cleaning up our roads in order to clean up our air. The Central London ULEZ has shown that you can reduce air pollution. We've seen almost a halving of levels of nitrogen dioxide. This means the air is cleaner, it's easier for everyone to breathe. To improve London's air, we're really supportive of the expanded ULEZ. We've seen the benefits in Central London. We want all Londoners to breathe cleaner air.
To help clear London's air and improve health, the ultra-low emission zone is expanding across all London boroughs from the 29th of August this year. To check your vehicle, search ULEZ 2023.
Pay, get paid. Pay, get paid. With Barclaycard, get paid in store. Get paid online. Get paid from Switzerland. Cashflow. Pay suppliers on time, every time. Become their favourite client. Get thank you gift basket and macaroons. Get cash back on business spend. New espresso machine in staff room. Oh, paperwork. Wait, free accounting software. Search Barclaycard Payments. The payment part is just the start. Offers now available. The approval of your application depends on financial circumstances and borrowing history. T's and C's apply. Free accounting software provided by FreshBooks for selected Barclaycard customers only.
Kazoo, yeah. Is that the tune as someone who's just discovered kazoo? They went online to sell their car and got a guaranteed price that won't be chipped away at. That's a nice Now they want to buy a car. They can pick it up from Kazoo or have it delivered, and every car comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee. Money-back guarantee. Can you buy or sell a car in a better way? Kazoo, yeah you can. Kazoo, yeah you can, baby.
T&Cs apply.
What if you could start to change your world today?
What if you could work on projects that will go down in history?
What if you're looking for a new challenge?
What if your career could take you anywhere?
At Scottish Power, we're helping to shape the future of energy with our biggest ever recruitment drive, from accountants and project managers to ecologists and engineers.
We are creating 1,000 new green jobs. What if there's one for you?
To find yours, search scottishpower.com/careers.
Got an untaxed car? You could hide it in a hedge or sneak it in a skip. Maybe cloak it with some cones or outfox us with a fence. You might try to cover it, smother it, bury it in sticks, park it down the lane, tuck it down the drain, stash it in a bus stop, paint it like a mountaintop. But whatever you try, you will always find that cars are hard to hide, but easy to tax. So don't risk it. Tax it with DVLA at gov.uk/DVLA/taxit.
Tom Swarbrick. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850. This is LBC.
4:37 time. Louise and Andy make a similar point, actually. Tom, the only people, says Louise, who are subject to this are those who have ignored months of letters from the utilities companies. The decision to fit these prepayment meters are the courts. The companies offer plenty of help. And the only thing I would say to that is, well, I don't know, based on what British Gas have had to say about the investigation into them today, that they feel that they have done. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stopped the practice. Andy says, Tom, if you don't pay your bills, why should you not be put onto prepaid meters? For all those people who say they cannot afford the bills, why is it that most people do pay their bills? Well, again, I do think that companies who are owed money should be able to find a way of getting that money back. Otherwise, people would take advantage of them all the time. But on energy, during winter, in a very cold winter, for the poorest, are we saying that it is genuinely acceptable and that no solution could be found to allow people to put on the lights and put on the heating for a bit, even if they've got no money to top up their prepayment meter? Because otherwise they are cut off. Is that right? Come to your calls in just a moment. Meanwhile, officers in Lancashire searching for missing Nicola Bulley say that they have found a second witness. The 45-year-old mum of two was last seen in St Michael's on Wire last Friday morning while walking her dog. LBC's Jackie McDonald has the very latest.
Well, Tom, just to set the scene for you, this is an area popular with walkers, a path running alongside the river, surrounded by the Lancashire countryside. And it's a route that was well known by Nicola, who was walking here with her Springer Spaniel last Friday. She was last seen around at 9 o'clock in the morning after dropping her two children at the local school. Today, the focus very much on a section of water close to a bench where Nicola's phone was found. We know that the phone was still connected to a work call when it was discovered. Underwater specialist teams with cameras and drones were searching the river alongside sniffer dogs and teams from Lancashire Fire and Rescue. A desperate time for Nicola's friends and family. Heather is one of her close friends and spoke to me earlier after she went to the scene to speak to police.
We want Nikki to be at the forefront of everyone's mind. We just are desperate to do all we can to get her home. Her girls are missing her so much. They're desperate to see their mummy and Paul as well, and the family. They're such a close-knit family. They're just such a well thought of, loving family. And yeah, they need Nick home.
How are you and Nikki's family?
It's a roller coaster, a complete roller coaster. We're very much holding on to hope. Got to believe there's hope. Nothing is making sense at all. But yeah, we just know that we know Nikki, and we know that if she could be at home with her family, that's very much where she would be. So we're just doing all that we can to do our bit to help get Nikki home.
Well, Lancashire Police have stressed from the beginning of this investigation that this is a missing person inquiry. They don't think there's any third-party involvement. As I say, very difficult time for the family. Nicola's father, Ernie, has also been speaking. He says the last week's been extremely difficult.
She's done this 1,000 times. Dropped the children off from school,
a beloved dog, Willow. She loves it to bits, that dog. She'd do anything for the animal. She parks the car in the school car park, walks across past St Michael's Church, through that little lane, up to the open field, and that's where she does it every day in, day out. There may be days where she misses, but if it's not her, it's Paul. And it all revolves around the point that they've dropped the children off at the school. It's just routine, and you know, we're just baffled by it. Just baffled.
The police earlier.
Well, as you say, Tom, an update from Lancashire Police came this afternoon. They gave a description of a woman they wanted to speak to who was in the area at the time of Nicola's disappearance. Shortly after that, they say they tracked this potential witness down, perhaps an indication of just how many people are watching the updates in this case and wanting to do everything possible to help find Nicola Bulley.
Absolutely horrendous for the family, isn't it? Jackie, thank you. LBC's Jackie McDonald reporting on the very latest in that search. Susan's in Islington. Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Hi, you want to talk about these pre-payment meters?
I do. I used to work for an energy supplier, and these forced entry with the prepayment meters have been going on since 1997. The fact that the CEO wants to proclaim that he's not aware of it is ridiculous. There are alternatives for customers that are in debt and are not advised of it. If they're in receipt of pension credit, universal credit, they're entitled to have their fuel paid through their benefits under a scheme called Fuel Direct. They're able to take a nominated amount from their income to pay the debt and their current usage. There is no benefit for any energy firm to inform a customer of that scheme because the debt recovery is a lot longer. When these prepayment meters are put in, it is the gas company who determine how much they're going to recover weekly. So if you've got a person on a benefit and the only income that they can afford is £10 a week for the gas, you can guarantee £5 of that will be for the debt, and they'll have £5 worth of money to have gas for a week.
Which is why I said, Susan, I think it's Ofgem starting an investigation into all of this, and British Gas specifically as a result of these allegations, is like bolting the stable door after the horse is 25 miles down the road, isn't it? Because, as you say, this has been happening for a while, and the idea that all the vulnerability checks would have been happening every time, to the letter, without fail, is just, you just know it's not going to be true. Thank you for the call. Back to more of your calls in just a few moments, but forgive me, because given the last few years, you won't mind me getting a touch jumpy about hearing of deadly viruses mutating. You'll be aware of the largest ever outbreak of bird flu, killed millions of birds around the world, and is part of the reason why you've got no eggs. Now, otters and foxes in the UK have tested positive for H5N1, the avian flu, which, if there were to be a human-to-human transmission of it, very unlikely, but it would make the COVID pandemic look like child's play. Professor Ian H. Brown is Director of Scientific Services at the Animal and Plant Health Agency. Thanks for coming on the programme, Professor. Just tell us in how many cases you found the transmission of H5N1 from birds to mammals.
Okay, so we've recently been running a programme to track mammals, particularly those that scavenge sick or dead wild birds, and we found 9 cases out of 66 animals sampled. We've got to be clear, we really target that. We target it to where we think there's been a high opportunity that these animals have been exposed to the virus.
And those animals are likeliest to be otters, foxes. I know that there was apparently a case of H5N1 in seals in the Caspian Sea, for example.
Yeah, correct. Where these types of animals, in certain circumstances, will share habitat and actually feed and predate on sick and dead wild birds. When they do that, they're exposed to very high quantities of virus. So we do see these random occasional spillovers. The key thing is we haven't got any evidence at the moment that virus can then transmit in that new population, so fox to fox or seal to seal.
And dumb question, but is 9 in 66 a lot?
It isn't, because it's 66 targeted cases. So if we went and looked at every fox that died in the UK, obviously there'd be tens of thousands of those. So it's because we're targeting our monitoring to where we think there's a very high opportunity for exposure, that we're getting what looks like a high hit rate.
You're doing a very good job, Professor, in calming me down about this, because H5N1 human-to-human transmission would be what? You describe how bad that would be.
A human-to-human transmission of a novel virus like H5N1 avian influenza would, of course, if it was really efficient at transmitting, that would be a pandemic, as you say. What we've got to be clear is here, just because it's jumped into mammals, it doesn't change that risk profile for people. But what it does mean is we need to monitor the situation, we need to be watchful, because we know viruses can change over time, so we do have to be vigilant in this space, but at this moment it hasn't changed that risk for people.
So no, as you say, no otter-to-otter transmission, no fox-to-fox transmission, and no evidence that the virus itself has mutated to become more efficient at spreading?
We have seen some changes in the virus which make us want to do more monitoring to assure that it isn't spreading fox-to-fox, seal-to-seal. So, we have to do the work to track and monitor that. And there's ways we can monitor whether the virus is able to do that by looking at the genetics of the virus. But at the moment, we haven't got evidence it's doing that. But we need to run the new monitoring program that DEFRA and the devolved administrations are supporting for us to do.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed. Professor Ian Brown, Director of Scientific Services at the Animal and Plant Health Agency. Coming up after 5.
Russia invaded Ukraine. Gas prices shot up, these companies made billions, and the question is, do you tax them properly and use those proceeds to actually help people with their bills or not?
Pressure on the government to rethink its windfall tax on energy companies after Shell reports its highest profits in 115 years. More details after 5. Your calls to come next. 4:47.
LBC Travelline Dave Goff. It's slow on the M25 clockwise. The exit slip road at junction 11 for Chertsey is blocked because there's a swan on the road. There are queues on the M25 anti-clockwise. There's one lane closed at junction 2 for the A2 because the lorry has broken down. On the M25 anti-clockwise, there are also queues because a car has broken down at junction 25 for Enfield, so one lane is closed. There are delays in Poplar on the A12 southbound to the Blackwall Tunnel. It's partly blocked around the A13, the East India Dock Road. That's because a car has broken down. In New Malden, there are queues on the A3 southbound. That's because of roadworks just after the Coombe Lane flyover, where one lane is closed. And there's disruption to buses in South and West London. That's because of a strike by Abellio staff.
LBC.
In 1,000 yards, turn left. Or is it right? Maybe go straight on, past the cows. At the roundabout, keep going round and round. Hang on, where are we going again?
Without clear guidance, you can feel a little lost. But when it comes to taking your pension pot, Money Helper's PensionWise service will help you get clear about your options. If you're over 50, our free impartial guidance backed by the government will help you find a way forward.
Ooh, get you sorting your pension out. Now go straight ahead.
Visit the Money Helper website to book your free PensionWise appointment today.
Call Tom Swarbrick 0345 6060 973 LBC.
At Kia, we believe to find inspiration, you have to move. Our Kia Inspire event features exclusive offers on selected models like the Kia Exceed, Sportage, Stonic and Picanto. Get your first 2 services free, 7.9% APR representative, and up to £2,500 PCP deposit contribution. Plus, these models will be available sooner than you think. Search Kia Inspire event. Kia. Movement that inspires. T's and C's apply. Petrol models only. Kia Finance ends 28th of February.
With PensionBee, you can combine, contribute and withdraw from your pension online. Our plans give Mary the freedom to contribute whenever her income allows.
So I've been self-employed for 4 years now. As a self-employed person, being able to make flexible contributions towards my pensions definitely helps.
We're making pensions simple so everyone can look forward to a happy retirement. Be pension confident. Join at pensionbee.com. When investing, capital is at risk.
Whether it's a home to grow up in or a place to grow old, our home is the stage where our lives unfold. From your forever home or your very first place, to up or downsizing to get the perfect space. Life doesn't wait, and neither should we. If it's the right home, then it's just meant to be. If you're thinking about your next move, get in touch with your local Savills agent to book a valuation.
If you're looking to trim your spending, checking for subscriptions that you no longer need could be an easy win. The Barclays app makes it simple. You can view your subscriptions and upcoming payments in one place, helping you to manage your spending. You might even spot some other savings you can make right now too. For more money help, search Barclays Cost of Living. Barclays, make money work for you. You need to be 11 or over to access this product or service using the app. T's and C's apply.
Want to work in the media? Kickstart your career with Global Academy. Apply now for your 10 or 12 at this unique media school. Search Global Academy.
It's Lidl's Pick of the Week. Save up to 30% with 6 fresh deals on fruit and vegetables. A 6-pack of kiwis for 79p. 150 grams of cherries for 99p. Or a pack of baby corn just 79p. And even more in store now. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes NI.
Now that the holiday season is over, many timeshare owners are facing a winter of expensive upkeep. With rising inflation, now more than ever, we need to look after our money. If you own a timeshare in Spain or the Canaries and bought it after 5th of January 1999, you may have been missold. mytimeshareclaim.co.uk could help you exit your contract and receive substantial compensation. To find out more, text ASSIST to 78900. That's ASSIST to 78900 today.
Tom Swarbrick, tweet at LBC.
Such is the pressure brought about by sunlight onto the practices of some of these firms, the disinfectant that sunlight can be on some of these practices, that I've got this piece of breaking news. In the last few moments, Sky News is reporting that EDF has suspended forced installation of prepay meters, joining British Gas, who decided to suspend it after this investigation this morning. Now we get word that EDF has suspended forced installation of prepayment meters. Why? Not because prepayment meters are inherently wrong, not because companies that are owed money don't need to find some way of getting it back, but because, to be honest, we all know that some of the practices that are meant to happen to protect vulnerable people from being placed into even more vulnerable positions just aren't. Particularly when you've got a middleman company that go and get into people's homes who are literally incentivized financially to put more of these prepay meters in. It's in their interest to just keep installing, to ignore any checks that apparently existed. That news again, EDF suspending forced installation of prepay meters. Craig's in Glasgow. Hi, Craig.
Hi, good afternoon, Tom.
Far away, sir.
So I used to actually be an engineer fitting these meters on what we would call the warrant runs.
Yep.
And this is a warrant was issued from the court for us to be allowed to gain access via a locksmith. So it was always done as a peaceful form of entry. There was no kicking indoors, if that sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
And yet now I'm on to kind of give a balanced kind of side of view from it. The energy companies, yes, are making millions, and we understand that, but like you say, the companies need to be able to recover the debt somehow, and these warrant runs never come about after no phone call, after no attempt. We're talking there's multiple phone calls, 5 letters from the company, warnings from the court before a warrant is ever issued and signed by a judge to then allow us to go and gain access. Quite often we faced a lot, and understandably we faced a lot of physical confrontation to the extent that we were wearing stab vests on these jobs because of the danger that we were getting. And understandably, no one wants anyone in the house, but also at the same time, people have got a responsibility to pay their bills.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree that if we're going to have a system where energy is paid for and not free, because it costs money, funnily enough, someone's going to pay, then you are going to have to pay your bills. But the issue here, it strikes me, Craig, is not in finding a way to pay a company back or not fitting any prepayment meters ever again. It's in the checks and balances that are meant to be in place to protect vulnerable people, which is why both British Gas and EDF seem to have suspended the practice that you were carrying out for a while.
Yeah, I agree, and like I say, I carried these out probably. You didn't do this every day. It was normally maybe once a fortnight. A group of the addresses would be locked together, and you would work your way through them that day. Probably in my time, I've done it maybe 50 days out of my career over a couple of years.
Yeah.
And every single time, what the really professional guys long experienced guys who knew the procedure, knew the legislation inside out, and 9 times out of 10 we actually didn't end up fitting the meters. We would attend site, and normally people are expecting us, they know we're coming, and they then make some form of agreement.
Right.
The potential have been putting their head
how
in the sand before that.
When was, have you stopped doing this now?
Yes, I've slightly changed careers. I'm still in that industry, but I'm on a different kind of side of the industry now.
The reason I ask is I just wonder whether, given the energy crisis, the need for people like yourself back in the day to go and do this has increased because so many people are getting into difficulties with their bill, and as a result, some of the checks that you say were in place a while ago have maybe fallen away. Appreciate the call, thank you. Sam's a new caller in Worcester. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam, how you doing?
I'm good, sir. You used to work, I think it was OVO, is it?
Yeah, so I used to work for OVO when they were a little bit smaller before they're a lot bigger now. And one of the points which I wanted to raise, which I don't believe has been discussed so far, is the problem is really when the vulnerability is identified. Obviously, all of these prepayment meters are being put in as a result of debt building up. From working in the customer service line with OVO Energy, and I'm sure it's the same with every other company as well, you often hear the signs of vulnerability well before any of our actions taken. And I think the problem is there aren't enough processes in place for the companies to actually action that vulnerability before it even gets to that point. So, for example, there'll be people calling in and they need to increase their direct debit, and we work out that their direct debit that they can afford doesn't even cover their usage. It's at that point that somebody should step in and do something. But unfortunately, there's just not really the processes in place for the companies to help.
Why aren't there the processes in place?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily that there's nothing that can be done, or whether it's an unwillingness for it to be done higher up the line. But really, I think what as soon as you get the idea that somebody is saying that they cannot pay for their usage, their usage is over what they can afford, there should be something in place, whether it be a government subsidy or something like that, to ensure that these people can actually stop the problem at that point, because leaving it at that point, it only creates further problems, and then you get into the situation that you're talking about now, where people are forcibly entering in and putting in prepayment meters.
It's going to be very tricky, this, isn't it? Because I think some people might not unreasonably say, well, hang on, I'm not going to pay more on my energy bill to pay the energy bill off of somebody who can't afford it right now. That might be unfair on them. Similarly, whether it's the state too, you might think that the energy company, and some energy companies I think do have to put some money aside to help more vulnerable customers. But then if you're being really hard-hearted about it, you might think, well, why is it the energy company's responsibility to help an individual look after their money better?
Well, I mean, the way that I think about it is when we have things like, for example, if people can't pay for their food, there's things like food banks available for them. And people that can't pay their rent, for example, and they become homeless, there are options for the council to rehouse them. There's really nothing on the fuel side. If we start considering fuel as a right, there's nothing on that side to really actually help people at all. There's really nothing there whatsoever. So if it's going to be considered as a right, then it has to have some kind of government involvement, or involvement from various different associations to help people. It can't just be left to